My story with regard to anxiety, I don't just practice holistic self-care. In fact, most of the things that I practice were a result of necessity. I don't know about any of you, maybe some of you got interested in healthcare because you had healthcare issues of your own, or maybe somebody in your family or a loved one. But in my situation, it was mostly just me. And in fact, over about 10 years ago, I ended up in the emergency room because I thought I was having a heart attack. And they did all the tests, and lo and behold, they said, nope, your heart's fine, you were having an anxiety attack. So they diagnosed me with an anxiety disorder, which was kind of like mind-blowing to me because I couldn't believe, I have an anxiety disorder? What are you talking about? So these symptoms that I've been having for years, this is anxiety? So it was like a huge case of denial. I didn't even know I was having it. How many of you know somebody who experiences anxiety? Whoa, every single one of you. And what are some of the symptoms that they report to you with regard to anxiety? What do they say anxiety feels like?
Short of breath.
Short of breath, absolutely.
Racing thoughts.
Racing thoughts, absolutely. Stomach pain, big surprise there. House of emotions, okay. So anxiety is this interesting beast because it's not like you have a cast around your head that says, something's wrong with me. In fact, if you have anxiety, God forbid, you know that it can be a debilitating experience. And until we actually really understand what's going on with somebody who has anxiety, sometimes it's like, oh, you have anxiety, oh, okay. And it's not like we're trying to be or not trying to be understanding and compassionate. It's just that sometimes it's hard to understand what somebody else is going through if you're not going through it yourself. It's very important that we take a look at the causal equation and what that consists of in order to understand what we need to do about it. So yes, there are medications and protocol where we can intervene for a patient, family member, friend, or whatever it is. And at the same time, there's a big component with regard to healing of the person being involved, right? Like your patients or the people that you're working with, they're only going to get so well if they don't take the ball into their own hands and start to do something with it. Isn't that true? Because without their participation, our medicine only works so much, and we only end up putting Band-Aids on top of things as opposed to helping them deal with that causal equation. We're well equipped with this provision of health and capacity for health. And the idea with holistic healthcare is to tune into that potential, to cultivate a relationship with it, and then learn to grow that potential. And then as we do that in our own lives, then we can start to become more equipped to be able to help those that also need help. Because how many times have you dealt with somebody in your own life that you've been giving them the advice for years, and they've told you that you're right, and they never make those changes? Have you ever had that happen before? So one of the things that I've learned in the past 20 years of practicing holistic healthcare is that one of the best ways for us to help others is to become the medicine that we want to see in the world. So the more I practice what I preach, it becomes less about what I preach and more about what I practice. Because once the person says, what do you do for this? Or why are you so happy or this or that? Now they've opened the door for me to be able to provide that seed or suggestion so that they can make some changes themselves. You can embody the medicine that you believe in. Because at the end of the day, nobody could take better care of you than you. One of the things that we know with regard to medicine is that behavior modification is medicine for the 21st century. Because no matter how amazing our drugs and medications and surgical interventions are, at the end of the day, even if you were to exercise 1 hour a day, 7 days a week, do you know how much time of your overall time a week that is? 4%. So what do you do in the other, 96%? There's a lot of time that we have. And then you might be thinking to yourself, well, guess what, pal? I don't have any more time. So if you're going to tell us that I need to go to the gym or that I need to add something to my already full schedule, forget about it. And that's, fortunately for all of us, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to bring some attention and awareness into what you're already doing to see how you can piggyback these strategies for wellness onto what you're already doing. So what is this holistic thing? So if we look at it, holistic emphasizes the organic or functional relation between parts and the whole, all right? And those parts work together for the mutual benefit of the whole, which we call symbiosis. So in other words, every part of your being works together for the mutual benefit of the whole being, right? And then, so what we do in holistic medicine is we nurture all aspects of our being for optimal health. In other words, while you're sitting right there right now, if you thought about the different categories of self or that make up your whole, maybe we could call it mind, body, spirit, which aspect of yourself needs nurturing? Is it your mind? Is it your body? Is it your spirit, your sense of purpose in this life? Where do you need the support? And that's very important when it comes to holistic self-care because everybody in here is different. You might have your spiritual practice on point, but maybe, the diet aspect or the exercise aspect is lacking just a little bit. So we all have areas that we can improve upon. And that's the nature of holistic medicine. It's where do we need support? Where do we need to beef up or polish our practice for well-being? Diaphragmatic breathing, we've all heard of it, right? It was funny to me, one time I was teaching a group of students with regard to diaphragmatic breathing, and the next week one of the students came back and she said, my doctor told me that I should not do diaphragmatic breathing. And I said, well, why? She said, because I have trouble sleeping and it was keeping me awake at night. And I thought, that's very important. Thank you for telling me that. Does anybody know why she was being sympathetically charged through her breathing practice? Why? She was doing the diaphragmatic breathing she was being taught to do, breathing using the diaphragm, inhaling by making sure that her belly was rising and falling as opposed to just the ribs. She was expanding on the lower ribs, front, sides, and back. Why was she getting stimulated? It came to my attention that when we breathe diaphragmatically, just because you're breathing diaphragmatically doesn't mean you're breathing for the purpose of relaxation. When you breathe diaphragmatically, the way you use your diaphragm in the process of breathing has everything to do with whether you're going to relax or get stimulated. So, my intention is to bring your attention to the two different ways that you can use your diaphragmatic breathing to get the results you want. Let's say right now you're already getting sleepy. You've already had a difficult day. You've already, you're trying to you're looking forward to that Starbucks after we leave here today. Who knows? But let's say you wanted to stimulate yourself. What you could do with your breathing is something called circular breathing, which is a method of breathing that Wim Hof uses. I don't know if you're familiar with who he is. He's worth looking up. He's broken 26 world records swimming under ice. He's kind of amazing. In any case, it's breathing in fully and exhaling fully and doing that repeatedly. It's not hyperventilation where you're, but it's breathing in fully and exhaling fully. And what that does is it oxygenates the cells of the body. Okay, and that's going to help to wake you up. So this gal who had come to me and said that her doctor said don't do that, she was stimulating herself. So I don't know why I can't fall asleep. Her eyes were all big and she was ready to run a marathon, right? She couldn't figure out why she was stimulated, so I had to inform her, you were breathing fully and exhaling fully and doing that repeatedly. So what I want you to do instead is, when you breathe in the same way, but emphasize a gentle expansion of the lower ribs, front, sides, and back. And then as you exhale slow like you're blowing through a straw. And so while you're sitting there, I know you're breathing still. Everybody still looks the same wonderful, vibrant color. So let's continue that. But let's see if, while you're sitting there, you don't have to change your position. You don't have to do anything other than, next time you take a breath, breathe in, And then as you exhale, exhale very slowly, like with pursed lips. And just notice how you feel. There's an immediate, palpable sensation. Now imagine if you did that throughout your day. Remember, how many times do we breathe every minute? 12 to 15 times, right? So we have that many opportunities every minute to get more out of that breath. So this is absolutely huge. By the way, when you want to absorb and distribute nutrition from your food, what's the best state to be in? Sympathetic or parasympathetic? Parasympathetic, right? You want to be in that rest and digest state. How many of you are going to eat here and then go right back to work? How many of you have just a tiny bit of stress that you might encounter throughout the rest of your day today? I got to eat 4 hands, right? A lot of us have that. But what if, so I can't change the stress that you experience, but I can help you change your response to it. So this is a very important strategy. Now, how many of you are experts at using your breath for relaxation? I can tell you from my own experience of actively pursuing the mastery of breath, I'm nowhere close. I think it takes a lot longer than 6 months to break those old habits. I mean, I got 43 years of breathing maybe the wrong way. I'm not really sure, but it takes a while to master the breath. But do you remember how you felt a few moments ago when you took that breath in and you exhaled very slow? We might as well try another one. Breathe in slow. Exhale even slower. Just notice how you feel. Yeah, you could fall asleep. Oh wait, we got somebody's falling asleep. Circular breathing. Now again, you don't have to make it all crazy with the crazy sounds. You could do it without anybody noticing. I just use extra audio for theatrical purposes. So the breathing aspect is huge, but the other aspect, if I was to ask you if the mind is a powerful tool for healing, what would you say? The mind has a tremendous capacity to assist us with the healing process, but it can also take away from our healing process. So if you were to imagine a timeline, I like to imagine, and let's say that the future is this way, the body's always moving towards health no matter what we do, right? It's always striving to achieve that state of homeostasis, okay? But the mind is somewhere back here, somewhere back behind the body going, oh, I don't know if this is ever going to go away. This really hurts. The mind sometimes needs to be brought up to speed with what's already happening. So an interesting study was done at Harvard, and you can look this up on your own. It was called Mindset Matters, and it was talking about exercise and the placebo effect. And they basically took about 40 housekeepers, and they told them that what they were doing in their daily workload was actually exercise. And within 4 weeks, without changing anything, all of the different variables of their health that they tested them for before they did the study, they lost weight. They decreased their blood pressure. They decreased their body mass index. They had tremendous health benefits within 4 weeks by changing nothing but their mindset, which is pretty huge. Our mindset is very important when it comes to health and well-being. And working in a lot of different pain clinics, physical therapies, and the like, what I've noticed is that when the patients have a doom and gloom mentality, they don't get well. When they have an optimistic, this is going to work out mentality, guess what? More often than not, they do. They get well. So this is really important when it comes to our overall self-care, holistic self-care approach. So what I want to invite you to consider is training your mind and your imagination to work for you. Because imagination, as Einstein said, brings or gives shape, form, and color to unformed mental energy. And so a couple remedies that I've outlined here for you. One of them I like to call a provision meditation. So I teach a movement class at the college. I always start the students on the ground, where you're laying down and relaxing and turning your attention into what your body's already doing. Think about it. How much of your body functions do you actually have to think about to make it work? But could you tune into what your body's already doing and encourage what it's already doing. So just while you're sitting there, see if you can imagine just for a minute your heart muscle. And imagine your heart muscle healthy, strong, vibrant, working at its optimal level. Oh, you just ate a little food? Let's go into the digestive system. Take your attention into your intestines and imagine your intestines absorbing and distributing nutrition perfectly, breaking down that donut or sugar, whatever it was, perfectly. So it's important for us to get our mind on board. I call it the provision meditation, but if you're just turning your attention into what's already going on and you've already just done it. But if you make it a practice, that's what makes it powerful. Smiling meditation. Systematically scanning and smiling at each organ and tissue in your body. Basically cultivating a relationship. Apparently, 95% of your brain function serves to repeat activities inside your body. But we spend about 95% of our energy and attention where? Outside the body. Social media, what are you doing or not doing, so on and so forth. So the idea is to take your attention inside your body and cultivate healthy relationships with the tissues of our body. We typically don't think about our knee until we smack it on the bedpost, right? Like, oh, and now all of a sudden my knee gets some attention. But what if I was to give my body as a whole attention on a regular basis? I'm just saying. So everybody probably, hopefully showered today. You probably spent some time with yourself today. What if you were to spend a little bit of extra time and focus? But it's a great place for you to do self-care massage and not to just, okay, done, but to actually take the time and get something more out of it, okay? Gratitude, prayer and meditation, expressing thanks for not only what you are naturally thankful for, but big picture viewing. There's been a lot of studies that have proven the benefits of gratitude meditation. Okay, so think about it for a moment. Bring into mind one thing that you're thankful for. Person, place, or thing, doesn't matter. How does it make you feel? Now, it's a rhetorical question. It makes you feel good to think of that what you're thankful for in this life. But it's been shown to change your physiology. It lights up the gray matter in your brain in a very positive and productive way, and it tends to create a physiology that bolsters and propels you towards health. Gratitude. Thinking about something that you're thankful for on a regular basis. Now, when you feel sick, when you feel anxious, do you feel thankful? No, you feel really uncomfortable. And in the case where you feel sick or not well, you're not thinking about, oh yeah, I'm really thankful for being unwell. Or if you feel a pain because you just had an accident or maybe a fall. Sometimes we're not feeling thankful for that. But what if we were able to transform our thought process and get more out of our thought process by thinking and bringing into mind something that we're thankful for? So you guys may have known what I was going to be speaking about today with regard to holistic remedies for anxiety. You might have thought about lavender oil. You might have thought about some Epsom salt sea salt bath. You might have thought about all these different ways that you could relax yourself. And those are very important tools. But these things that I'm sharing with you are things that you can do today, right now. You don't have to wait till later to Amazon Prime your lavender oil, and you don't have to get your sea salts. Not that you should. But these are things that you could do now. Because who's responsible for your health? We are. We, you know what I mean. The person in the mirror, that's the one. That's the one. Here's the thing that's going to help you with gratitude meditation. So it's easy to think about a person, place, or thing that you're thankful for, right? What I want to ask you to do is to bring into mind somebody that you're not usually thankful for. And to think about what that person teaches you. Patience, perseverance, among other things. And once we start to change our perception of those relationships, we start to benefit from them as opposed to allow them to take away from our health. Think about it. Before I mentioned patience, perseverance, whatever, you were thinking, oh, well, this person. And automatically the health starts to become impacted, right? So what we can do throughout our daily life, even when we're dealing with that frustrating situation, is we can start to transform our response to that situation, pepper a little gratitude in there, and actually get some health benefit out of it. Just saying, it's possible. Last but certainly not least, mental rehearsal. In the case of anxiety especially, we use mental rehearsal as a way to perceive something in the future being completed successfully. Because a lot of times people have anxiety because they perceive an event not being completed successfully. Does that make sense? So having and helping that person visualize that speaking engagement in front of everybody or whatever it is, driving in the car without having that panic attack, whatever it is, mental rehearsal is a fantastic tool. So body-oriented remedies for anxiety, we all could probably use a little bit more of movement in our life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share one of the most powerful movement strategies that I like to teach people, which is how to sit down. You guys sit a lot in your daily life? And you probably get up too, right? Because you got to go to this office, you got to go to that. I got to go get the print, the copy that I just printed on the machine over there on the Xerox machine. So there's a lot of times that we're getting up and we're getting down. But how would you like to learn how to maximize, not just maximize, but to get a workout out of what you're already doing? Sure. And how would you like to refine and maximize the power of one of the most powerful muscles of the body, which is the glutes? Okay, everybody's ready. So what you're going to do, we're going to stand up, if you would, please. And because everybody was probably a little bit sleepy, what I'm going to ask that you do is just give yourself a little bounce on the toes, on the balls of the feet here. Just kind of shake it out just a little bit because some blood needs to get to all those parts that was starting to get stagnant. And what we're going to do is, when you're standing by your chair, your feet are going to be shoulder width apart. And all you're going to do is, you're going to keep a nice long neutral spine. And, we like to use the imagery of imagining a string pulling you towards the ceiling from the center of your head, right? So you have a nice long spine. You don't want to flare your ribs out in front. When I say correct your posture, people are usually like this. And this isn't correct posture. This is actually just another dysfunctional posture. But when you create length through the spine, keeping those ribs down in front, this is neutral, okay? From here, all I want you to do is, we're going to hinge forward at the hips, and you're going to sit your glutes back into your chair while maintaining that neutral spine. Oh. I got to be honest with you, I can't tell you how many people call me up months after they've been doing this for a month, and they'll tell me, I haven't even gone to the gym anymore, and my glutes are looking amazing, They're so excited about what this little shift and adjustment can do. Now, that's the sitting down part. Check this out. When I stand up, typically what I do is feet towards me and then get up, right? So what we want to do is we want to keep our shins perpendicular to the ground. You got to do that part too. That's very important. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that string drawing us towards the ceiling, so we're nice and long through the spine. You're going to hinge forward at the waist and press through the glutes. There it is again. It never gets old. It never gets old. Okay, now, who remembers how to sit down? Can we try that one again? So again, long through the spine, maintain the neutral spine, hinge forward at the hips, sit the glutes back. Yes. Every single time. Imagine how many reps will you have done by the end of the day? Many. And it feels like it's doing something, right? But guess what? Knowledge is outweighed by experience and practice. So while this is a very functional tool, it's going to work if you do it. Not so much if you just keep it here. And it does take a little effort. But that's okay, because that little bit of effort is going to reap some tremendous results in the future. Okay. So basically, just with regard to movement, here's what I want you to consider. We often talk about exercise. How many of you go to the gym on a regular basis, if I could just ask? Okay. I'll tell you right now, I'm a certified personal trainer. I never go to the gym. And the reason why is because I have 2 kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. And I have a Crimson King in my front yard, which I climb on a regular basis. I chop wood. I mow the lawn. I love to garden. You catch my story. Now, I'm not saying that weightlifting isn't important, but the thing that I would love for you to consider moving forward from today is not just exercising 1 hour a day, 7 days a week, but rather thinking about how you could become aware of your movement for up to 8 hours, 7 days a week. Thinking and bringing attention inside the body while you move throughout the day. And thinking about quality of movement, thinking about length through the spine, thinking about hinging at the hips as you go to sit down. Does that kind of make sense? So you can exercise all you want, if that's your thing, but if you don't, just know that it's okay too, to some degree, as long as you are becoming more aware of how you're moving on a daily basis. Now, to be fair, there are some folks, myself included, where we need a little bit of what Katie Bowman calls movement nutrition. She looks at movement through the lens of nutrition. So you wouldn't eat an iceberg lettuce every day and expect to get all your vitamins and minerals, right? You would eat an abundance of colors and a variety of colors and different vegetables, fruits, etc. Same thing is true with movement. You want to think about movement in terms of am I getting enough movement nutrition? Moving in a variety of different ways on a daily basis. And what ends up happening as you're taking your attention into your movement strategies, it helps to take your attention off of those things that are taking away from your health. So again, all of the interventions that I'm mentioning to you guys, they're all integrative, meaning that they all feed into the other one. It's not like one's way over here and then maybe I'm going to try this one over here. No, they're all mind, body, spirit approaches to some extent. In any case, moving on. In Hawaiian medicine, we focus a lot on visceral manipulation and abdominal massage. You could live without your arms and legs, God forbid, but you cannot live without what's going on right here. My teacher would frequently say, he'd say that gastritis reflux is what starts all sickness. If you cannot digest, the head stays away from the stomach. You cannot love if the heart and mind separate. And so basically, we all probably know to some extent how the gut impacts the brain and the brain impacts the gut. These two systems are very, very much intertwined and interconnected. In fact, a lot of the medications that we use for depression and for mind-oriented issues are pharmaceuticals or drugs that work to affect the gut and vice versa. Sometimes if we want to work with something going on in the mind, we give them a medication to help them with the stomach. So this part of the body is a part of the body that we want to make sure is functioning at its best level. So you might be sitting there going, oh man, I don't know about massage. I don't have enough time. We got 10 minutes left in class. What could we possibly know? There's some good news. I do teach massage therapy. I could tell you about all the different benefits and how each of these different techniques has a different effect on the different mechanoreceptors in our tissues. The good news is you don't have to worry about that, because if you baby it, everything will go back to where it needs to go. If you baby it. In other words, have you ever eaten Thanksgiving dinner and then found yourself, afterwards, kind of hand on the stomach? Why do we do that? Because it's common sense that if something hurts, you baby it. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't validity in the intricacies and the techniques that we use within the realm of visceral manipulation, what we would call opuhuli in Hawaiian. But if you learn how to baby your body and take care of it, you're going to be better off. So how many of you know the parts of your body that you're least happy with? And you don't have to tell me what they are, but how many of you have a part where you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, look at those crow's feet. You're like, I don't look that. I don't know. I can't believe I look this way. I mean, I feel like I'm 18 and yet I'm 43 and looking sometimes older. A lot of times we have this perception of ourselves and our bodies that impacts how our bodies feel and respond. Every time I go to the public pool in the summertime, I always see the dads. You always see, you got the visual, don't you? You got the dad, he's got the keg, belly, and it's got a line in the center because he's holding it in, right? He's not even breathing, right? He wants to look, he thinks that he looks how he did when he was in high school, and you just want to tell him, look, buddy, just let it go. Let it go. In any case, that tension that we hold in our abdomen decreases gastric motility. In other words, your body's ability to assimilate. So what I want to ask, even while you're sitting there, let go of the tension in your abdomen. Let your belly button fall to the floor. Case in point. Case in point. But think about it. How many of you were holding tension in your abdomen, or at least felt that tension when I asked you to release it? So subconsciously, we're holding tension. And why might we hold tension? Well, for one, we may want it to look or feel a certain way. But this is also the emotional storehouse of the body, so sometimes it's a method of protection, where we're trying to protect ourselves, right? What does your dog do when they totally trust you? They roll over. But sometimes we rarely find ourselves in a position where we're ever going to do that. But definitely, we don't feel prone to let go because subconsciously there's something to be afraid of. So on a regular basis, see if you can focus on letting go of unnecessary tension in your body. Look, if somebody's going to give you a gut punch, go ahead and tighten up. But if they're not going to do that, let go. Let go. And just so you guys know, I'll be giving you guys a business card before I leave today. But on my website, I do have a YouTube channel that I play around with where I give simple tutorials on how to continue this work that I'm sharing with you folks. And I actually give some of the movements that you might do if you want to do some of this abdominal massage stuff. Okay, so that's available free of charge. Free! I love free. Next, we're just going to briefly talk about relationships and relating. One of the things that I learned in Hawaii was something called ho'oponopono. It's basically a system of conflict resolution. It's taking responsibility for your part in a relationship and basically striving to make things right. And for me, with regard to holistic medicine, I take that pursuit of healthy relationships into all aspects of my being. So whether it's you, whether it's the person on the road that just cut me off, whether it's the sun that I've been trained to believe is going to affect me now more than ever before, even if it is, my relationship with everything has everything to do with my physiology. Think about it. If you feel fearful, what do your muscles do? Do they tighten or relax? They tighten. Have you ever been fearful? Have you ever been taught to be fearful? Have you ever watched the news and stopped watching it feeling a bit fearful about all the chaos and madness that's happening in the world today? The incredible thing about the body is that we have a tremendous buffer system, so we don't normally feel symptoms of issues until sometimes it's too late, right? Like even with heart conditions, sometimes the only symptom is the day you have the heart attack, right? So a lot of times, health conditions can change, but we're not always aware of it. And one of the best ways to become aware so that you become in the mindset of preventative care as opposed to reactive care is to practice cultivating healthy relationships within yourself. Again, this is not something that you have to sit down with somebody else to do, although you could. But this is something that you can do on a regular basis to tune into yourself and all the different relationships that you have and pursue health within those relationships. Now, of course, this could be a workshop in and of itself, and actually it is, but the idea is just to look at all aspects of what you're doing, even with regard to food. Today, eggs are going to kill you. Yesterday, they were the best thing for you. I mean, every day they're proving and disproving how what we eat is this and that. I mean, it's really, we get analysis paralysis. Too much information. What's the best diet? What's the best workout? I don't know. I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit here and, I'm just going to eat this and hope for the best, right? But if we were to take a look at what's going on inside our body and focus on cultivating healthy relationships within ourselves, we all know what to do. We're just not always doing it. But you can know even more specifically what to do if you spend some time with yourself with a loving, gentle perspective. How many of you are your own worst critic? Probably most of you, right? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't motivate yourself in those ways if that motivates you. At the same time, if you were going to give the person that you love most in this life advice, what advice would you give them? Are you taking it yourself? How many times have you heard advice from somebody and you're like, you should be really taking that advice yourself? I don't want to be that guy. I'd rather live it. I'd rather feel it and know it, because then you become less prone to even talk about it, right? Because I know you guys might leave here today and you might go, honey, you should really try this, and then your husband, spouse, whoever's going to be like, you know what? As soon as you've been practicing this for a month or two, then get back to me and let me know how it went, right? Because they don't want to hear it. So just make sure to be practicing on yourself and focusing on healthy relationships. And of course, connecting with somebody on a heart level builds what the Hawaiians call mana, or spiritual life force energy, and increases your mental bandwidth. In other words, what this is saying is that with the work that you do of reaching other people and helping other people, this actually builds your life force energy. And I know you know it because you feel it. This work fuels your existence, and yet we experience a lot of things on the day-to-day basis within our job that feel like they take away from our life force, right? So if we spend a little bit more time working on our perceptions about our work, about the relationships, about our breath work, about our movement, about how we eat, and making sure that those relationships or those perceptions are healthy, you're going to get more and center yourself in such a way where you're going to get that bandwidth back. And so every single day, you want to be able to provide a certain level of care to your family, your patients, whoever you're working with, and yet we're just basically making it every single day. What if we could just make some small adjustments, such as breathing, such as hip hinging, such as cultivating healthy relationships? So, these little small adjustments can make huge changes over time. I'm living proof. I never took medication for the anxiety. I never took it. Later on, about a year or two later, I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome. You guys know what that is? It's common today. Your bowels have a lot to do with what happens in your mind. Can you see how that might have been a connection there between what I was experiencing in my mind and what was happening in my gut? Once I started to look at the different aspects of my life habits, and just to make some small tweaks. I'm not perfect. I love to eat all that stuff in the back there. Those donut holes, those are going down later on. But better believe that when I do that, I have to know myself enough to know how I respond to that. I typically will feel very guilty after that. I've since learned that I don't need to do that to myself because I really want to enjoy that. So instead I slow it down. I slow down the process, and I really enjoy that donut hole. That's happening, by the way. So you can leave them there. Don't even worry about it, right? But the idea is that we want to cultivate healthy relationships within ourselves, and it takes time. Think about it. When you have a relationship that you care about, what do you do to make that relationship healthier? You spend time with it. You spend time with it. So your mind, your body, your spirit, spend time with it. If I asked you guys, what do you love to do? Would you guys know? Many people past the age of 45 years old, people that I work with, they don't even know anymore. And they'll tell me that. I don't even know. I forgot. Because I spend so much time helping everybody else, I've forgotten what's important to me. And my teacher would always tell me, if you want to live a long time, do what you love. That's the best way. So just real quick, I'm going to be wrapping up here. A couple different things that you could add to what you're already doing. Gratitude and value journaling. Basically taking what we did earlier with regard to thinking about something that we're thankful for, just actually writing it down has a huge impact on your overall health and well-being. Intermittent fasting is a workshop in and of itself, but the idea with intermittent fasting is just getting in touch with what your body can do naturally, and this would be worth looking up in the future because intermittent fasting is a great way to challenge your physiology if you're if you're healthy enough to do so anyways with this particular tool, and it's something that you consider looking into later on. And restorative movement, this is my plug, this is what I teach, and you can always, I'll be giving these out. So you always check this out later. It might be a little far for you folks though, because it's at Harper College, which is in Palatine, and also Trickster Native American Art Gallery in Schaumburg, Illinois. In any case, that's there. And so this is my website. InspiredToBeWell.com. I'm not a huge techie guy, but there's some basic information about me there. I'm working on refining that. And then my YouTube channel, because there's 5 million Daniel J. Moores on the planet, is I Am Daniel J. Moore. Because I am. I hope that you guys got something out of this workshop today. Thank you guys so much. Does anybody have any questions, comments, complaints, criticisms? No? You guys ready to do those evaluations?
Yeah.
Please do the evaluations. That's going to help you to get your CEs for today. And again, I just want to thank you guys for being you and for answering your call to be of service, because we just need so much healing in this planet, and you guys are on the front lines. So thank you.